One of the things I like to do is be able to tell people what I'm going to tell them, then tell them what I told them. So what you're seeing right now is a fast forward view of what I'm going to show you in regular motion in just a moment. I want you to get the concept that we are following the rail. This is one of the patterns. So look right now, if you can see that even though I'm making turns, that I've got a grass arena. We put some sand in here so you can clearly see the trails and rails that I would use. And you're going to get the big picture. And in just a few moments, we're going to show you like what that turn right there looked like in regular motion. We really feel like this is going to be an exciting breakthrough for you to learn how to think like I think. Now, here is another view of what you just saw. Okay, another camera angle, but at the same time, this is what was going on there. So instead of all the laps and stuff that I did, what I want you to do now is have the picture that I did all those laps. Now you're going to be able to see where I was making transitions from a trot down to a walk, going slow. This is in level 2. This is where we start our finesse program. And it started really softly, really easy, just light contact, just asking our horse to just accept our hand, not asking necessarily for flexions. But one of the things I want you to grasp is that when you pick a pattern, you think to yourself, that's my objective, to make sure that I'm thinking follow the rail, because pretty soon your horse will start thinking what you're thinking. When you follow the rail, think of rails and trails being the same thing. If you're riding through the forest and there was a little deer trail or something, all prey animals very quickly pick up on that they're on a trail. Well, they'll do the same thing. It's like their bonding agent inside of them says, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. So they'll start attaching their thought patterns to the rail. You want to start being able to not only follow the rail, but be able to walk and trot and walk. Keep it really simple. Make 180-degree turns like this, or just before, I made a 360-degree turn in the corner. It's the easiest place. It's a really simple pattern. Being able to just follow the rail, see how little you can do. When you're riding with contact, you're riding with finesse, you want to see how little it takes. How little does it take? If you'll watch, my left hand here just turned out. That's all I did besides turn my eyes and my belly button. Now, as I make a transition down, watch my right hand lift. Okay, there we go. So this is a suspension rein, and this is making the ultimate transition to back up. Another fast forward pattern for you to see what I want you to see in concept. So in level 3, you're going to see more transitions. You're going to see a little bit of sideways game, because you can start to see the haunches in, shoulders in, more transitions from canter to walk, from trot to walk, and these sort of things. And what I want you to grasp when we go to regular time here in a moment is that we really are just taking it slow. This is not sport training. This is foundation development. And there's a big difference. I want you to realize that prior and proper preparation prevents poor performance. And if you can look at this and go, this is not my sports training, this is my preparation, the fundamentals of performance, and for absolute pleasure with your partner. Now that we're back in regular motion, we're going to go to the next level. We're developing skills. You know, riding is nothing more than the mere act of not falling off of a horse. But riding and guiding at the same time is the start of an art form. And I like to think of what I'm starting to show you here is to start precision riding. All right? We've given you some hopefully an interesting perspective here. We have an arena that usually just has grass in it. We put some sand trails in it here so you could see that what the objective is stay off the grass. In other words, stay on the trail, follow the rail, stay on the trail. So in this level, I've changed from a regular snaffle into what we call a cradle bridle. And the more contact that you have as you do more precision riding, then oftentimes you want to have a mouthpiece. Most horses want a mouthpiece that is not broken in half, that is straighter and has some tongue relief. So the cradle bridle is a transition bridle. If you want to know more about it, you can look in our Bridle Wisdom program. The attachment to the trail and the rail is a really important concept. So when you go in and you start working on your pattern, I want you thinking strongly, I am following the rail. Even though I'm starting to do some sideways games here, I'm putting my haunches in, I'm putting my shoulders in, my main thought is I'm following this rail, all right? So the idea here in this level, we're going to start developing your skills for transitions, start developing your skills for shaping your horse's body, asking them to keep their head and shoulders next to the rail, the haunches in. The patterns, I want you to have a lot of faith in it because they build collection. This is where I would call it polite and passive persistence in the proper position. It gives you obedience through being polite and passively persistent. So the patterns are what are going to help you do that. So I need you to have a lot of faith in these patterns. Again, this is not sport training. This is foundation development. All the other stuff will come easily. Now you notice here, not only am I asking with a little more contact, but I'm asking her to get together with me more. There's a little more flexion there. I'm asking her to round her body up. What flexion does, what vertical flexion does, is it stores the energy and it releases the energy. So the whole idea is they store the energy. If you watch a stallion courting a mare and they start tucking their head in and they start getting all their energy up and they start saying, look at me, look how fancy I can trot. Well, that's because they put their body into a shape that stores the energy in their hind leg, and that's where the power comes from. So we're going to start that process now. Again, when we go off the rail, like in those 180-degree turns or 360-degree turns, we go around, see here, and get back to the trail and the rail again. There's a 360, all right? So the whole idea was, I want her to feel comfortable getting back on that trail. What I want you to think about now is giving yourself the time, a vision in the future of how long it might take to do a program. All right, so this is just one pattern that we're talking about here, the Follow the Rail program. We've got about 10 more. If you did each one of these for 7 times in a row, just do a little math here, it's going to take about 3 months. That's if you rode almost every day. All right, so if you kind of stuck on one pattern for 7 days and you really got that going good, and then you went to the next, this is about a 3-month-long program, the things I'm sharing with you. And again, this is only the Follow the Rail program, or pattern, all of which will pull together into all the patterns together will make your finesse program, your precision riding program. It'll be one of the really important elements of your fundamentals. If you have an interest to go into performance, whether it's Western or English, you're going to find that these are going to be very valuable. So keep in mind the patterns. Every once in a while I stop in a corner, staying close to the trail, close to the rail to make it simulate a trail for the horse. We're going to go into real time here and I'm going to explain some of those interesting moves you just saw. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to start really kind of, if you could imagine starting with the very simplest of things with your horse, with the end in mind, all right? And this is where I think it's going to be very valuable for you to see before you go out and do pattern level 2, starting off in your finesse program, that you've actually watched this whole thing all the way through and go, oh, even though this is all I'm doing today, the things you're seeing right now are the things you're going to head to, all right? So we start wanting to shape our horse's body with our hands and our legs, we're going to start being able to swing our horse off of the rail, back to the rail. All right? So again, if you're looking at it from a 7 games perspective, there's a little sideways game for you. And what I try to do in every session is make sure that I always have something that tells my horse that I'm doing something very friendly. So like right here, when I'm walking along and I'm asking for her to be with me, very close contact like this is like when Linda and I would walk along and we'd reach over and ask each other to hold hands while we were walking along on a beautiful sunny day somewhere. Rather than we have ways of making you get your head in here like this. I look at the asking for more contact as a very intimate and very friendly thing to do. All right, so then, now here, this is a real interesting exercise here. This is swinging the shoulders. I don't want her to change leads. I want her to allow me to just swing her shoulders in and out, in and out. All of these exercises here are exercises that allow you to go mind, flexion or shape, weight, get your weight right, then either keep your feet the same or change your feet. So this is a different view. You can see now I'm just swinging the shoulders in. I'm not asking for a lead change. I'm asking her to just give me obedience. I know if you change leads too much, you're going to think, we got to change leads. So this is one of those counter exercises. So that as you see here in this level 4, this is more heading toward an expert level, asking your horse to respond with respect without any fear, without any tension, total relaxation, total confidence, total cadence, and there's a flying lead change. I'd like to get you just to think about a really simple pattern. This is just a simple figure 8. Of course, in our online savvy, we started with some of the same things. And if you can get a horse online, builds to liberty, online and liberty build to freestyle, and if you've been doing that, this should be the stage you're at. Starting to do it with precision and finesse. Now this is Vanna, and this is starting to be, this is new stuff for her, but this is just the stage she's at. And the great thing about patterns is it builds the mind. And it always goes mind, flexion, weight, feet. So what I love about patterns is it gets horses to understanding, mentally understanding what it is that we're asking them to do. Then they start being able to multitask and get the weight, the body shape, the weight, and the feet. Now, just think of it. Every time you move it up a notch, you're moving it up a level, you want to start going from just confidence that you can do this, that the horse can do this, to skill. Now notice here that I'm changing diagonal when I get to the middle here. Now I'm rising with the right inside hind foot and changing diagonal there. So this is something that develops skill. Level 3 is about developing skills. So we want to start incorporating some of these things where we do it in different ways. Now I'm going to sit the trot here and really get her to go around my inside leg. My left leg right now is saying go wide and shape your body like this. This is why these patterns teach horses obedience through polite and passive persistence in the proper position. The proper position is the pattern. So we're teaching her to just allow me to help her. And for her to reach her potential, we have to get her mentally involved. Now, if we can just get her to where she allows me, and if you have a horse, if they get a little bit excited or something, just keep going around that barrel that way. But can we take it up this next notch, doing simple lead changes in between the patterns? So see how we've started at level 2, just basically going through the pattern. Level 3, we start things like changing diagonals, so the horse, that helps the horse change its weight, change its body shape, allow us to help it. Imagine if we can just slow everything down for the horse and keep it simple, keep it slow, keep it consistent. Someday you take all these patterns, put them together, you're going to have a real good program. Now Vanna is just getting ready for that flying lead change you saw. These patterns are what are helping her. And she is just now allowing me to control, her mind, what she's thinking about, her shape of her body, the flexion, getting the weight back, and then asking for the feet to change. Just like on the ground, we graduate from the figure 8 pattern to the weave pattern. And what I want you to do right now is I want you to think about watching these 3 levels of patterns on this one, on the weave, so that when you go out and do it, you're going to start with, at the beginning, with the end in mind. All right? So this is, I think, one of the really exciting things about this program. The new program we've got for you here is that we're actually able to show you what we've got in mind in the end. Now this horse that we're using here, this is Aspen. This is my son Caton's horse. And in order to film all of these things for you in a timely fashion, we went through and used a lot of different horses. As you saw in level 2, just a simple weaving of the pattern. In other words, get the mental aspects. What I want you to see here is that we're going to really start challenging a horse to be more obedient, to allow us to shape his body. Because you got to remember that patterns are about consistency, and consistency is a great teacher. Teaching or learning being kind of the same thing, they can learn things you don't want them to learn as well. So here I'm going to widen out the circles, make what we call snaky bends through the circles, so that it enables me to take zone 1 to the left, zone 2, and zone 3 out the other way. Watch this. Zone 1 comes to the right, here comes the nose, and actually we're pushing zone 3 out to the left, even though we're going to the right. So we're bending him around our inside leg. All right, watch here. Zone 1 goes left, zone 2 and 3 actually go a little bit right. So we start weaving this out. You'd think that just getting the horse to go in and out like pole bending would be the ideal thing. But that then teaches the horse to not allow us to control their body parts. Now we're going to go in here just a little bit differently, a little closer. We're trying to get the feel, the timing, and the balance right. Get him to where he's allowing us to move his ribs around. Again, the snaky bends. Just getting lots of flow here. Slow and right beats fast and wrong. We want to get this to where, for Aspen here, that he can have the time or the room even to start doing some simple lead changes. Here he's on the right lead. Now, just there. Break down to the trot, come out on the left lead. So this is teaching a horse and the rider the skill, again, level 3 about skills, to learn how to operate in time and space. You got the space between the barrels and the timing that it takes to see if we can get that trot, and then there we go. Those snaky bends are really coming in handy now. A little slow motion for you. Being able to just shape it up for the horse. There we go. Time and space. And this is where the patterns really become a matter of consistency. But again, you can go closer, you can go wider, you can actually space these barrels out. One of the things that I would suggest to you is, if you want to do the snaky bends part of this, put some cones there, so you out to the side, so you can know how far out to go on your cones. We talked about time and space, but also how about dimensions? How about weaving backwards? One of the things that these patterns do, like let's just say you set your barrels up. If you set your barrels up, 25 feet apart, make sure each one is 25 feet apart. So you're really getting the concept of precision, where to make the changes, where to make the transitions. And one of the things, again, that I'd like to suggest that you do is that you maybe put some cones out to the sides of the barrels, so that like when you weave in and out of the barrels at a canter, that you do your snaky bend around the cone but back through the barrels, around the cone and back through the barrels, and that you make your transitions right at the line. Like if you drew a white line between those barrels, right when you got there, you would already be from a canter to a trot or from a canter to a walk. So this dimension of getting your horse to be able to do the weave pattern backwards is going to help prepare now for all the advanced stuff. Now this is about all Aspen's able to do, so I'd like to bring in Magic and do the flying lead changes. Let's see here. So now, get those shoulders over, change. Watch this, bring it, push her in a little sideways, get the nose, zone 1 right, change. And now look at there, the changes right on that line, just like what we had been building up to. We're back to another fast forward pattern so you can get the concept, get the overview. This is a pattern called millions of transitions. We're going to start off in each level, at the first levels, just doing maybe hundreds of transitions, then thousands, then millions. But what I want you to do is get the concept of how important transitions are. When we first start our patterns like follow the rail, that's about consistency. This one is going to be about variety. We're going to learn how to learn the value of the transitions. The value in the transitions is that it helps your horse with suspension. And with suspension, you can have multi-dimensions. Now, here we are. We've got some relaxation. We've got a horse that knows to follow the rail, got the consistency. Now we're going to add in some variety. So there are times when it's really, really important to just follow the rail. Don't ask them to change a lot, to get that mind just relaxed on one thing. But now what we're going to do is we're going to start with the idea of let's go from a walk to a trot, trot to a walk to a stop and a backup. Now right there I used one of our old patterns, the corner pattern, to be our place to stop, take advantage of the rebound, and back up. But pretty soon, our reins, our hands and our reins and our bridle are going to be that corner, that fence that causes the rebound. So like here, transition down, using the corner again, back, get the weight back before we make the turn to the right. All of these things are about getting the horse to be with you and not to make assumptions. Now in this level, we're just going to make some simple, easy transitions forward and backwards. We're looking for straightness. We're looking for relaxation. Again, with a right brain extrovert, what should we be looking for? We should be, or introvert, excuse me, we should be looking for her to be really confident and relaxed. It's hard for her. She's a tightwad little cookie. But these are the things we're going to start with. Now in this level, you're going to see lots more transitions and changes of weight, changes of gait, changes of dimension than you did in the last level. But as soon as your horse really gets solid in that, what we want to do is we want to start to get to where whoa equals go. Just when you ask your horse to go, he's just as ready to whoa, and when you ask a horse to slow down, he's just as ready to go. It becomes like a hovercraft. So what we're trying to do is really get our horse connected to us. A lot of people say collected. I think right here, this is a good way to think about getting a horse connected. So, just simple things like walk, stop, back. It's with these really sensitive horses like Magic, sometimes just the simplest things can be some of the hardest things. For her, if you just said canter in a circle for the next 45 minutes, it takes no mental effort on her part to do that. She's a physical kind of a horse. She can kind of run away within her side of herself and just run around in a circle. She has no bottom to her. But when we start making these transitions and we start asking a horse to go from a canter to a walk, that takes a lot of mental power, especially for a horse that's got more go than whoa. And Magic's kind of interesting. Actually, remember we talked a little bit there a minute ago for suspension and dimension? Right there, she almost kind of got kind of lofty, just getting her to stay within my hands and my legs, stay with me mentally. she started kind of getting some suspension to her. So as we are working on our finesse and our precision, we take those consistent patterns and we start making them more multidimensional, a little more sophisticated. We add more to it. We ask her here to canter, make transitions down to the walk. So it's like we skipped a gait there. So these are some of the things that we're trying to do, is get everything to where the horse goes from go to whoa, whoa to go, get it all to match. Wide view and fast, and in a little bit we're going to give you that closer, a different perspective, a closer view, and slow. But in this level, you're going to try to obtain, the objective is to have more, not only more transitions, but be able to be more sophisticated, to go from, say, trot to back up to trot, skipping as many as 2 gaits, being able to start adding in some sideways dimensions. So we're going to try to get our horses here really like a hovercraft. That's the goal. Again, those patterns really keep things consistent. We threw this sand down so that you could see the pattern. We don't always happen to have that, and you don't have to have it there, but I want you to mentally draw those lanes in your mind. Because if you can see them, your horse can see them. If you can't see them, your horse can't. So here's some sideways dimension, little shoulders in. You're going to see lots of different things, 360-degree turns, where we get that horse where every time we make a thought, because everything we do starts in our mind, goes through our body, down our legs, through our seat to our feet and our hands, and it goes in their mind through their body, down their legs to their feet. So when we can start getting that harmony between us, where when we think it, they think it. And when they think it, they start to get the message down to the feet, and it just starts to become one unit. So if we can just start to see that we're getting this pattern, the pattern's going to have lots of opportunities to change direction, like they're on the lanes, to shift the weight back, make 360 degrees, make 360 degrees, go the other way. Again, everything becomes like one unit. So there, if you can think about going into the canter by just thinking about it. This is where, when I first started doing seminars, you know, everybody that I started teaching with, or almost everybody, had this thing in their mind that said, you're supposed to kick a horse to go. No, what I want you to learn to do is the power of suggestion. And this is where precision riding really works on the power of suggestion. You should see what some would call whispering aids. Now right there was some of that. See there, I wasn't asking for anything with a passage in it, but it's kind of started to happen, because she starts feeling that we're slowing down, but I'm ready to go. And then when I go, she's ready to slow down. That's where that suspension comes from. You don't have to train it. The patterns will develop it for you. But the precision is in your focus. And when you have, if I can give you an idea, the connection, you're part of the power unit there with the horse. And a lot of people have the reins too long and too sloppy, and allow a kind of a sloppy message in the reins. Right here, so you'll see me oftentimes adjust my reins and shorten them up a little bit, so that I can have my horse being able to stay with me and just feel my focus through my seat. There's another little bit of that suspension again. So we're asking here lots of things, still keeping it calm, keeping it straight, keeping it smooth, keeping it rhythmic. And we're not kicking them to go, we're not pulling them to stop. We're literally riding in our mind. Now I want you to notice where my focus is. Even though I've got her shoulders to the inside, I'm looking straight at the corner. Even though I've got her hindquarters to the inside, I'm still looking in the corner. One of the things that I notice that a lot of people do is they try to do these exercises is, if they try to put the haunches in, they change their focus. If you look right now, you can see not only my eyes, my nose, you should be able to see my belly button off to the side, and you'll see where the horse feels my focus. Got a little pattern here for you that I like to call the question box. I think the concept of getting horses to ask questions rather than just being completely obedient might be new to some folks, but I think this is one of the real dynamics of horsemanship. And what I like to do is get a horse to ask me questions every time I go through those 4 barrels. Are we going to stop? Are we going to turn? Are we going to make a transition? Are we going to make a lead change? And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you some ideas here with this pattern called the question box. Now, you just saw how the pattern is basically going to work. We're going to go through the box time and time and time again, those 4 barrels, but we've got the cones set up in such a way that it makes it very easy for both the horse and the human, both the horse and the rider, to focus on a perfect circle so that we come through the box in a good shape, so that when we want to come in there and stop. Now I'm going to make small circles, I'm going to make large circles. So here's a small circle. As I go through here, every time I go into that box, I either stay on the same diagonal that I was, or like there, I change diagonals right as I got to the middle of the box, and the horse goes, aha, I bet we're going to go out and trot a circle the other direction. So we're going to go in here, and I'll do a little something in my body as I get right in here before I make a small circle. So the horse starts seeing the consistency of, it's when we're in the middle of the box, we're either going to do the same thing, we're going to make some kind of a change, whether it's a stop, a walk, a transition, a turn, something, so that the horse gets the idea that everything will be consistent until we get in the box. Now with some of the horses, what I do mostly is go to the middle of the box and stop. If I can get a horse to go to the middle of the box and stop, then they'll start going, oh, do we go to the box and stop? And you say, no, but thank you for asking the question. That might give you an example of how you might be able to use that. So now, depending on if your horse is really go-y horse like Vanna is, then you might want to start making some smaller circles in and out and that sort of thing. But get in that box, stop, and relax. To add more skill in our level 3 concept, why not try backing around the box? Basically, I want you to get creative and for your horse to start asking you questions. Why not side pass through the box? This concept came up when I was trying to teach people how to do really good circles and really good transitions. And I realized that I had made a mental box in the middle of the arena. And as some of you know, the middle of the arena is called X. And you can see the X on that sand trails that we've got there. The very middle is called X. And so I had been making these mental boxes for years and realizing that I was seeing the invisible. This gives both you and your horse a chance to find the middle at X and stop and relax. So here we go. We're going to start by backing out of the box. And why not back out and make a circle around the box? This is a great exercise teaching the rider how to coordinate hands, legs, momentum, arcs. You notice I'm looking to the outside, and that brings the front end around to the right and the hindquarters into the left. See, I'm looking out to the right. When I get here, I'm going to stop square on the sand. And now, when I go sideways, I'm going to look sideways so that they start to feel my focus. This is one of the most important things that you can do, is really have a certain focus for every maneuver that you do. This is what the horse is going to feel, because whenever we focus differently, it changes through our proprioceptive processes down to our hips. This is where the horse feels everything. So like here, before I start, the horse is going to feel something in my hips. because I've thought something different and my focus was different. So now if we can canter using the markers I like to go from marker to marker to marker in an arc. And pretty soon I've got a perfect circle. Kind of like combining the patterns, and pretty soon you've got a program, same kind of deal. So we got to the middle of the box, let's make a transition downwards. Then we could have gone the same way, or like we did this time, change direction. Get a little different view there, how going to those markers, going to X. Now right there, she didn't feel like she asked me a question. Are we going to slow down and stop? She's kind of a go-aholic. But instead of being critical of her, I'm going to keep being particular, expect a lot, accept a little, reward often. And remember, today is just one of the days of the rest of her life. So trying to get it to where I gave her a little bigger, better idea by doing it a little sooner that time, made her more successful. Now some horses that have more woe than go, you got to watch it, because those little buggers, they'll start shutting down on you every time you blink your eyes. Every horse has got his own horsenality based on four things: innate characteristics, learned behavior, environmental influences, and spirit. This is a way you can create a great environment by using the pattern of the question box. As you can see, the pattern is very, very consistent. We're going to try to build up to where we could do a really nice stop in the middle of this box. We're going to get to where we can maybe make a lead change in the box. Now, Vanna is really good for this DVD, because this is just where she's barely at for her development. And so it's actually, instead of always using horses that know how to do it, they've done it 1,000 times, we're going to start here with a horse that's really just going through the process. I hope you appreciate that. It's actually a lot of fun putting this together, because I was working on Vanna just the same time I was trying to help you. The walk, believe it or not, it can be one of the hardest gaits in the world to perfect. It's absolutely one of the very, very basic fundamentals, and a lot of people skip the walk. And if we can get a horse to where we can walk them longer, walk them shorter, walk them and change their arcs, change their rhythm, change their shape of their body, this is the place where you really get a lot of things done. So instead of just everything getting as we think, building up to the next level, everything getting faster, we've got to remember to perfect the walk. So I did some going slower, going faster, going slower or shorter, changing the arc in the middle of the box. Pretty soon, horses are really clever at being able to see the purpose and the meaning. And that's where, by doing something in the box, and if you don't believe me, just ride your horse over to the gate 3 times in a row and get off. Or ride out that gate 3 times in a row and go to the barn. They will know where that darn gate is. This is the same thing. Instead of a horse getting what people call gate sour, how about if we think about getting him X sweet on going through the middle. Getting the horse to have a positive expectation, asking you the question, are we going to go in there? Are we not going to go in there? Now, we're working on the circle. We might as well work on lengthening the stride, shortening the stride, lengthening the stride, shortening the stride. Every time we go through that box, we've got an opportunity. It's like going through an intersection. We've got an opportunity to either change directions, change gates, stop, do something. And just like you and I do when we're driving, or we should do when we're driving when we go through an intersection, just because the light's green doesn't mean you shouldn't look a little bit and ask the question, is it still okay to go through? And that's what I like a horse to do, is by putting those barrels up there, that makes it a very, very definite marker, a very definite place, and horses are very perceptive to these kind of things, to danger, people, places, changes and things. So in other words, this is a place to make changes. Now I'm going to ask Vanna here to step up a little bit more and really start getting her weight back on her hind leg, and to really come together with me here. This is a little challenging for her. Sometimes she's like there, a little wide on that, going around the marker. Now I'm going to ask her here to bring the weight back, put the weight on the hind leg on the inside, come around there. You can see she's having trouble with it. She's having trouble with it. So what I have to do is make a choice. I can either do it again, be polite and passively persistent. I've got a size of a circle in mind. She's got one. She's on, I'd like a bigger circle. Or I could loosen the spring by just letting her go out on the bigger circle. I'm going to try here just to stay soft and easy, keeping the rhythm, getting it to where she can canter out with her front legs. And we got pretty close to some kind of a change of lead. You notice that she was getting more elevated in that smaller circle. Smaller circles actually help with elevation. They can't make a small circle without being elevated. A horse can run in a straight line as fast as they can and actually put all their weight on the forehand. That's what a gallop is, that there's more weight on the forehand than the hindquarters. But a canter has the weight the other way. So now here's a way to loosen the spring. Even though we're working on refinement, we've got to be able to turn the reins loose. We've got to be able to ask her to stop in that center, drop, relax, and find that happy place. So think about the question box being that happy place for you and your horse. Breaking things down, isolating, separating, recombining is one of the real secrets. And that's how you make what seems to be difficult simple. So we're going to work on sideways here, and one of the things I do a lot is just ounces with my legs, and then using the aid of the stick. I'd rather put more pressure on the stick. It doesn't hurt than I would with my leg, because if you keep putting too much pressure with your leg, horses are going to get dull. Now watch right here. I'm going to tap the gate with my right leg there. That's to teach the horse to go sideways to something. Then I'm going to start using barrels instead of the gate. All right, so I've still got, we're in the teaching phases. This is our level 2 concept here. We don't do finesse in level 1. So instead of going to the gate, how about if we just use the stick and our leg lightly to go over and touch the barrel. So that gives the horse a purpose and a meaning. This is so important that horses have a real concept of what we're trying to do. When you get somewhere, stay there and relax. Now watch. I'm aiming that left leg of mine over to that barrel to hurry up, get there, and accomplish and relax. Now, let's take it up a notch here, another level. Let's add more skill. One of the things, as we start asking more, we're going to ask the horse to go more directly across, not use the stick. And let's add a little bit more and say, now give me enough sideways I can push the barrel over, and why not take it up another level and side pass on over that. Again, we'd want to do these things on the ground first. But what this does, little things like this really help a horse understand that there could be a possible purpose for going sideways. If we can start little simple things here. Now we've put these barrels in kind of an augmented pattern. See how the barrels on the right are kind of shifted back forward and the ones on the left are a little more forward. That gives us more room on the diagonal. So what you have to do with your level and your horse is find out what's most appropriate. What we want to do is use this pattern and build in the relaxation. Now, Magic is a very tightly wound right brain introvert, and sometimes this kind of stuff here is hard for her. So I want to see if I can get the relaxation, if I want to see if I can get her to stand. Now she's off the balance here, and so she moves her weight and her feet, and her mind gets all fizzy. But instead of trying to make her do it, I'm going to say, that's all right. Let's go do it again. Let's just walk off here, try it again, and ask her this time to stop and relax with contact still, not just throw the reins at her until she relaxes. Now, every horse has got a different horseanality, and for Magic, these are the kind of things that are really important for her to be able to have that relaxation. Your horse may already be unwound. So every one of them, we have to learn to be appropriate. You might want to put your barrels farther apart. You might want to put them closer together. So now this time, instead of going, okay, we're going to stop at the barrel, we're going to aim at the barrel, get there, and then shift and change that sideways right at that moment. This is what's going to build for your lead changes. So she has something to aim at. Horses are so smart. They're so perceptive to danger, people, places, changes, and things. So now we're going to take it up another notch. We're still working on the skill level, level 3 of now we're just going to go do the same thing, but a little faster. See if we can get a little more momentum, keep the rhythm, trot on over there, get a little bit of sideways, and stop and relax. Trot on over there and stop and relax. Yeah, it's hard for her. That a girl, you could make it. Whew. These are simple things, but simple things done well. Simple things done with elegance is what you're wanting to start shooting for now. So now let's see if we can take the same thing that we did at the walk. And when we get right there, we just change the bending, change the leg, side on, go sideways the other way. And now we're really heading somewhere now. Now, again, to have the end in mind when you first start those exercises, this is what might give you that idea. The better your horse goes sideways, the better he does everything else. Sideways gives you suspension and dimension, gives you a capability of being able to do a lot more with your horse. Just think about it. You can't go sideways in your car. At least you shouldn't. Usually that's a wreck. That's what happens just before the wreck happens, isn't it? But on a horse, we can go sideways. Now this time, instead of going onto the inside of the barrel, the outside of the barrel, and then change directions, and voila, we changed leads. Aha, some of you are saying. That's where it's building to. Again, I want you to watch these patterns all the way to the end so that when you start your patterns, that you've got an idea where you're going. But remember, you've got all the time in the world. Take your time. Oh, look at there. Using that sideways and then just changing from one sideways to the other, and we're getting the lead changes. Atta girl, Magic. Look at there. And so then that time I didn't change leads. I said stay consistent. So what we want to do is we really want to get these patterns. You want to get them down pat. Now this time, watch, I've really lengthened them out. I've changed my barrel so I make it even easier on her. And change. There. And head to that one and changed there. And I'm staying on the sand. So now we're getting more straightness on our flying changes. And there. I call this pattern the bullseye. And I'm only going to show you two levels of this, 3 and 4, because it really is like if you start with a left brain introvert with low spirit, they drive the horse crazy. So this is something that you need to be skilled at and have some savvy with. But it's basically what you're seeing. The barrel is the middle of the bullseye, and you're going to give the horse something to concentrate on, to circle around it, and give it a place to go find its rest, go find the comfort. And knowing that horses want safety, then they want comfort, then they want to have fun. This is a way to get that started, because it really makes the horse feel safe having the pattern, makes them find the comfort, and it becomes a game for them after a while to go get the bullseye. The importance of circles. Basically, the farther you go with horses, it oftentimes becomes a matter of geometry, becomes a matter of time and space, especially in the finesse and precision aspects of horsemanship. When you're on a sandy surface, it's fairly easy to see whether or not you're making you have tracks in the sand that make it where it's obvious whether you've made a circle or not, or you've made some nice Easter eggs. But what I have found is that if you can use something like a barrel or a cone, I like starting off with something big and obvious like a barrel. The horse, if you'll go in here and stop and circle something, the horses will put two and two together. They'll really start looking for this. Now, this is really part of her development also. She's just learning this, and as I went through these exercises and stopped, I found her starting to really get attracted to those barrels, really starting to go, hey, can we get closer to it? Can we stop there? And pretty soon I said, yes, we can get closer to it, but not stop there yet. And she said, well, when can we stop? And I said, when we do when we put together a combination of the mental part of the circle, get your body in the right shape, get your weight right, get your feet right, and then we get to go in. She goes, oh, I got to do all four things? Absolutely, got to do all four things. So here I'm trying to get her to just relax, go around in the circle, bend her body. Just give me some consistency, keep the rhythm going. And when I can get this and get some transitions as well, just really getting her focused, giving us something both to focus on. Try this out in the grass someday. Try go loping a circle. Have a friend watch, but not without a barrel, without a marker. You're going to find you're going to be all over the shop. Now, what I often do is I'll find one of those dark green patches there if I'm just out in the grass, and that's my pretend barrel. That's where I put my bullseye around. So I'm getting her more and more conscious of going around the barrel. We're going to get in there, we're going to concentrate on it, and then we're going to bring that front end around. Again, it's not sports training, but these are the fundamentals in our foundation. As we take it up to the next level, we want to start thinking about how much mental effort is the horse putting in before we go to the next level. Should have more consistency. We should then start adding a little variety by going slow and fast, big and small, haunches in, and even one of the most difficult things, a counter canter, which would be to canter to the right, say, on the left lead. So these are going to be some of the things that you'll be seeing in this pattern. And again, it is a pattern. It's not just something you go around and canter it one time and go, doop, turn and stop and you're there. But as we go forward, we need to be progressive. We need to find all the places that are really good for our horse to find the places where they've put the mental effort in, they've done all the things that we wanted, and find a place to stop. Slow and right beats fast and wrong. We want the rhythm and the relaxation in the walk. We want to be able to shape our horse's body. We want them to be concentrating, a little bit like we did in the question box. We want the horse asking us questions. This is what patterns do if we use them for a natural progression in development of our horses and ourselves. So trying to get our horse to understand exactly what we want, starting to be able to make the same thing at a different gait. Now, some horses would learn this at a trot easier than they would learn it at a walk. A lot of times at a walk, it's no big deal. Okay, so we went and looked at the barrel, stopped at the barrel. Some horses, it might be a canter. So you have to find out with your horse's personality, with what would be more appropriate. With Vanna, a lot of things are easier for her at a walk and a trot. She can get so much speed in her brain that we go too fast, she didn't learn a thing. She's just starting to get her act together, so to speak, her mental, emotional, and physical collection. She's really just now starting to get to where things are making sense. She's staying balanced. She's always asking questions. Where are we going? When are we going to stop? Where are we going to stop? So whether we're stopping at the X on the question box or something like this, going around the barrel and looking for me to get out of neutral. When I'm cantering a circle, I get into a neutral. We're going to stay on this circle as long as I'm like this. But when I look over at that barrel, I make a change in my focus. That's when we're going to start getting closer and closer and closer and make a stop. See if you can see where the moment that I make the decision to go in there and stop. Watch for it, watch for it. Because you should see it, she should be able to feel it. Trying to have that neutral feeling, trying to sometimes go in and out in a spiral. These are all different things. I'm just waiting for her to ask for the question, and there it is. Could you see me giving that little bit, that just changed my focus? You should have been able to see it. She felt it. The longer you stay there, the bigger the reward can be. Now, we've sped things up, of course, for your benefit. But now, after she's done this, this has been about the third or fourth day in a row to do this, you can see she's putting a mental concentration. So I'm going to ask her to go around here with her haunches closer to the barrel than her front end. All right, now I'm going to ask her to be on the left lead going to the right. This is called a counter canter. But again, if I don't have a strong mental connection to the barrel, now watch this. See if she does this here. Watch for it. She's saying, Pat, this is hard to stay balanced. It's hard to stay balanced on this. How about if I change leads? How about if I change lead? See her, she changed her weight and her feet, and in we went. That told me that she had a lot of mental strength toward that barrel. I remember the first time I rode what I called an arena trained horse. It would avoid the corners at all cost. And I realized that the horse realized, why should I go close to the corner? We're just going to bypass it anyway and go around this arena. And pretty soon the horse would almost make an oval, or depending on the size of arena, would make either an oval or a circle, because it did not want to go in the corners. So I found myself riding to the corners and sitting there. And pretty soon the horse went, oh, you mean there's a reason to go over here? Yeah. So this pattern is called the corners game. And this can be a really strong have a really strong psychological effect on your horse. Horses not only are perceptive to danger, people, places, changes, and things, but horses also understand the meaning if they understand the purpose. And if a horse can get to where, well, first of all, we know their instincts, their major instincts are to be perceptive to danger, flight from fear, and be gregarious. The reason horses get where they want to go to the barn or want to go to the gate is because they recognize it as going to a safe place, as recognize it as going to a comfortable, happy place. And pretty soon horses will play games with you to get there. That's what they've got on their mind. So this is a way you can use that same energy that horses have to be gregarious toward a spot or a direction by doing it in a positive way. So a couple of the places we want to have a horse be thinking about are the corners and X, the center. So this, as you can see, is a pattern that has a lot to do with the corners. Now, the reason that we've got the only 2 levels on this is because I don't know what size arena you have, how long it is from one corner to the next, how short it is, and I want you to have a certain skill level before you do this. I want your horse being able to do plenty of other things, all the other patterns before. But this pattern right here is one that, with a horse like Magic, I almost can't do too much of. What I'll do a lot of times when I go and want to do something with one of my horses is I might just go, I'm going to just go check and see what would happen if I ride down down this rail. If I do too much follow the rail, they want to cut the corners. If I don't do enough, but then if I can counteract that or counterbalance that by going to the corners and stopping. And here's what I like to feel. I like to feel my horse feels like he's going somewhere. So even though I'm doing transitions here, I want my horse to feel like we're going to go down here to the corner. So all it was is that we did these little things on the way to the corner. Horses, as we all know, like to get back to the barn. So why not get them to like to go back to the corner? And there's 4 corners in this particular arena. And we can start making games out of this pattern by coming here, sitting and waiting. I've got lots of choices here. I can just make a right-hand turn and go down to the corner to my right. I could make a 180-degree turn right here and come back to this corner. I could walk around in a circle and then go to another corner or even back to the same corner. There's lots of different things that you can do once you realize that you get your horse asking you questions about the corners. We did it with the question box, so why not have it now to where we can get it going in the corners? So again, I want to have a little mental feel. The same, if you felt it, a horse wanting to go to the gate, I want to have that same feel that we're going to go to the corner. And then, if it gets too strong, what I do is I go, no, but thank you for asking. Again, we're creating a dialogue, a communication. Communication is 2 or more individuals sharing and understanding an idea. So we start with our ideas and help them become her ideas, cause them to become her ideas. So what I do is I play little games here like this, like turn, face, wait. So I kind of put the squeeze game aspect in there before we go to the corner. She's going, oh, we're going to go to the corner. I go, well, yeah, but in a moment. These are little things that can help build your horse's mental capacity. Horses are smart. They say dogs and dolphins and people are intelligent. This actually can help. These are the kind of things that help build your horse's intelligence. Helps you and your horse become multidimensional. Again, this is foundation development. I've worked with thousands and thousands of people and their horses trying to do performance, and I go back to these simple things. Can you do this? Yeah, well, but I want to do lead changes. I want to do slide stops. I want to do piaffe and passage. Okay, cool. Everybody wants to go to heaven, but no one seems to really want to die. These are the kind of things that when I talk about there's only one job in the world you can start at the top. It's called post hole digging. These are the things I look for. You can look at a tree and look at the leaves, look up in the air and say, the leaves are dying. Maybe there's a problem with the leaves. And I look down and look at the roots. These are the kind of things that there's something here, throwing in another dimension with your horse. Back a circle, back into that corner. So sometimes I'll go to a corner and stop. The next time I'll go to a corner and I'll make a circle and go on. It's the relationship. Now, you're saying, well, what if I've got an arena that doesn't have corners? You could have an oval, you could have a circle, you can still find places where you can put these principles to use. Remember, horses want safety, comfort, and play. They are perceptive to danger, they fly from fear, they want to be gregarious. Now, in observing this fast overview, you're going to see more variety with the corners. What are all the things, what more things can you do with the corners? What I want you to think about is that circles shorten, straight lines lengthen. In the end, depending on your horse's horsenality, the kind of strategies you want to use. Now, Magic is what I call a long horse. She wants to go. Oftentimes I use circles to help her get relaxed and calm and think things up. But I also use straight lines, sometimes first at straight or in short, the short side of the arena, to get her where she can realize all I have to do is just go relax and go over to there and stop. But you'll see in this, I'm going not only short side to long side, sometimes circles in the corners, but sometimes I go to the diagonal corner so that there's a relationship with these corners. And sometimes I go way down there, make it a big circle, make a change of directions, a change of leads. I try to find all those good places to stop. I try to cause my idea to become her idea, and what it is, it's like a guessing game. I want her to ask those questions and guess. It's like when you're a kid and you wake up in the back seat of the car and you kind of see some familiar surroundings, you wake up and go, "Are we almost home, Mom and Dad?" "Yeah, how'd you guess?" "Oh, I just saw something familiar." And this is what the horses do. They get to where they have a guessing game. And so it's up to them to be consistent with the patterns. It's up to us to add in the variety, to make it more fun. If I can ask my horse to go straight to the corner, then why not ask a horse to go to a corner, a circle in a corner, and then to the corner? I'm always trying to think about not teaching my horse through consistency, but not teaching her to make assumptions. So this is where we get a horse to where they're prepared or preparing, where they are asking questions but not taking over. I've had people say to me, "I don't like my horse to anticipate." And I go, "Well, I like my horse to anticipate. I don't like my horse to take over." Anticipation is a good thing as long as it doesn't get to the next stage, which is where they take over. A horse that just runs to the gate or runs to the barn, that's not anticipation, that's taking over. This is what I'm talking about. Getting my horse to where I go to certain spots in the arena. Now you'll notice here I stopped not in a corner, but right where the path turns to the right and goes to X. So now all of a sudden I start getting lots of sweet spots in the arena. It can be each one of the corners. It can be at an intersection. It can be even now to go over diagonally to a corner. And the horse starts going, "Wow, this guy up here is using love, language, and leadership. He's a great leader. He always knows a way to the sweet spot. He knows where they're all at." Instead of there being one sweet spot in the arena, because horses aren't gate sour, they're gate sweet. They don't hate gates. So these are ways to use what's a natural instinct to a horse. Here I'm going, that corner? No, that corner. No, that corner? No, let's go to that corner. She's going, okay. So I'm teaching her to anticipate, but not take over. What I do when I go into a corner, and if I'm going to go past the corner or going to turn, I change my focus. If I'm going to go ride into the corner, I look way out past the corner. So if I look straight out past, I'm going to go straight. If my head turns to the right, then I'm going to go. Now right there was a little stumble step on her part. Maybe I wasn't strong enough or soon enough in my focus that I was going to turn and do a circle. She's on the right lead. I haven't changed leads. So you see where I'm playing these games. Now I'm on a counter canter. And she's going, wow. He's always in control of what it is that we are thinking about. Let's see what we got here. Now there's the change of lead and coming right to the path. Again, when we're riding with finesse, when we're riding with precision, we've got geometry to keep in mind, straight lines and circles, and we've got time and space. So this is where knowing where X, which is right there, is in the arena. Knowing how to make those corners, how to turn, where we're going. These are all, and having all the sweet spots. See where I turned my head down and in? I'm asking her to bend her ribs, bring her zones around there, and make that kind of a circle. Watch my focus so you can start to see what happens before what happens, because this is what she feels. Now she was a little late there on her lead change behind on her left leg there, but it was more my fault. I didn't get her shoulders over far enough. I put her in a little bit of a jam into that with the wall there, with the fence. So these are all the things, just always analyzing what happened and what happened before what happened. Oftentimes, it's not enough preparation on the rider's part. Horses are just like computers. They may never do what you want, but they always do what you tell them or what you program them to do. So watch my focus. Should be looking straight out, and see, I'm looking beyond the corner. This gives her the feel through my focus. These are what we call the 180-degree patterns, or uniquely a way to go the other way, or in some parts of the world, t'other way. One way or the other, we've got to get going the other way. And so what I'm going to try to do is give you some ideas. We've got follow the rail, we've got corners, patterns, we've got bullseyes, but at the same time, I want to get to where we're doing things with savvy. So what are some savvy ways to go the other way? So these are the patterns on going the other way, 180 degrees. Getting a horse to shape its body, be flexible in its mind, flexible in its body, put the weight where we want, and get the feet to do what we want, is what I call guiding. And riding is nothing more than the mere act of not falling off, but riding and guiding at the same time is where art begins. So I'm presuming that if you're really interested in the finesse, precision portions of our program, then you're really somebody that's wanting to go somewhere to the equestrian arts. So let's see what we can learn about 180-degree patterns. So you might have noticed right there that when I turned, I just brought her nose to the right and then brought my focus to the right. We'll see if you can see this. See if you can see where, when I want to go to the right, I might just shape her nose, then bring my focus around. Then bring my legs. Then a transition to a trot, then to a walk. And because the corner games are so good, she started to ask me, are we going into the corner? I said, no, but thank you for asking. So I want to make sure you don't just pick and choose through these patterns and just do the ones you think you ought to do, because that's not what I do. I do them all. Okay? I think one of the things that as we get further along with our horses, things like changing directions and changing leads, there's no such thing as is something that people tend to do all the time, but there are no such things as right leads and wrong leads. There are only right ones and left ones. So some of these patterns really help us help our horses to make 180-degree turns with or without changing leads. There's a lot of ways to go the other way, including toward the fence. We're going to start really trying to see where if we can get our horse to be flexible mentally. You know, patterns are, the first patterns we showed you are the kind of things that really get horses solid and consistent, confident. But now to get them competent, we have to add in a little bit of of variety. We have to start doing some things that go, it's a pattern, but let me change the pattern that we established. And I think what's really important in a program is that you have sequential learning in your patterns. You do the patterns that are both safe and functional for you and your horse first, and then build up to these patterns. So these patterns that we're showing you now are some patterns that are going to throw in the spice of life. A very simple thing to make a turn where the hindquarters walks around the forequarters. We want to put the weight on the forehand. We want to get her to swing her hindquarters around and still keep a rhythm. Simple thing, easier said than done. You want to be able to have a horse to be able to squeeze in between you and the fence without losing her rhythm. So in a sense, this is, if you want to put it in the framework of the 7 games, this would be one of your squeeze games. We're squeezing her there. We're asking her to rotate her hindquarters around her forehand. When I want that to happen, I look down in my focus. When I want a horse to bring the forehand around, I look out and around. It's a completely different focus, which gives the horse a complete different feel. So my eyes and my belly button turn up and over to make that type of turn. There's a neutral spot for every gait, for every maneuver. And so like there, before I made the transition, I had a neutral canter going, which said, don't change leads, don't change gaits, just keep doing this. Then I did something different to catch her attention, and I changed the rhythm in my own seat. So I'm neutral here. Now I'm going to make some kind of a change and drop it down, change my energy and my rhythm. This is what I'm trying to get my horse connected to. And so I'm trying to get it to where it's a relaxing feel to make those changes of directions. Now right there was a pretty nice change of lead after the change of direction. And what I liked about it is the relaxation was in there. Change. And change the lead. So now they feel the focus. This is one of my favorite patterns because this was probably the first pattern that I learned about patterns. And I learned this from Mr. Troy Henry. I learned this back about 1974, 75, something like that. And it really got me interested into understanding how simple patterns and how effective they can be. This is called the cloverleaf pattern. As you can see with the way the sand is in the arena, we had a grassy arena, and I said, let's put some sand in here so it would give us a visual of what it's going to look like. You can see it looks like a 4-leaf clover. So what I want you to do is to understand that, you know, the pattern of following the rail, the pattern of going into the corner. You can incorporate those things, and then by getting a horse to where he knows where the sweet spot is at X, and I'm heading toward X now. And if I will put a horse on a pattern until he finally says, when are we going to stop? When he asks me that question, I go, well, next time we go to X, we'll stop. Thank you for asking. Wow, did I ever find out how powerful that could be. And once the horses you start a dialogue based on that, they quit telling you, we're going to go to the gate. To me, there's no conversation when somebody's telling somebody something, whether it's the human telling the horse or the horse telling the human. But this can start a dialogue. The secret is to go, to stop at X when you first start the pattern, like I would have stopped there, and to go toward the fence as long as possible. Like, see, like right there, I turned as late as I could. That way, if I wanted to, I could have stopped there. Now, go high in the corner, and after you get past the corner, as we get right about here, start looking at X and making a gradual turn. This is how an airplane would do an approach pattern. all right? They turn as late as possible, leaving, and they turn as early as possible so that they don't have to go past the straight line and then turn. So now let's see if you can watch here. See, right now at the trot, I could even go to the left if I wanted, if I was trying to fool my horse, or even stop right there at the end of the fence. So that's why it's important to go, or go high in the corner. I could stop in the corner. I end up in where if I've got the end in mind, I know that I can start having my horse anticipate and ask me questions, but I'm not getting my horse to take over. And then if I just start giving the big sweet spot right here at X, the horse starts saying, I got it. This is what we're looking for. Well, practice doesn't make perfect, only perfect practice makes perfect. And it's pretty easy to get sloppy on the patterns. And the reason that I really want you to understand, to have the end in mind, to be able to go stop there in the middle, be able to change leads, to be able to come straight here if I wanted to do a stop here, is that you're going to use those things later on with your horse. And if you understand that, then maybe you can have the reasoning why you're going to put the effort in to going high in the corners, going high straight ahead. As I've tried to teach this pattern for years, right about here, people would start getting sloppy and make the turn too early. And then the horse would miss the corner. And I'd be yelling, high in the corner. And then I'd say, early toward X. And then I'd be yelling at him, high toward, at the end of this turn. Because most of my students, I didn't give them a clear enough picture that maybe they could come straight ahead here and do a slide stop someday. Well, with the end in mind, this is the kind of thing that's important. So right there, I was even a little bit early on that. And if I'm early there, I'm going to be early in my corner, which makes it harder to be early here. So we want our horse to have plenty of time. We want to manage our horse's energy, his rhythm, his feet in time and space. So this is a great exercise for doing that. Again, this is the first pattern I think I ever learned. I guess you could call loping around in a circle a pattern. But this one, when Mr. Henry taught this to me and I started getting horses to stop right there at X, I started having horses ask me that question. I started getting horses that were becoming a part of me. I had never felt that before. I had just had robots underneath me. I had 1,200 pounds of hair and muscle and blood and bone in the shape and in the feeling of a motorcycle. But when I can get my horse to put in that effort in here, then man, the conversations really start. When horses start to anticipate shifting their weight, stopping at X, someday it'll be the preparation for that flying lead change you've always wanted.
When you're thinking about what do you go out and do with your horse every day, these patterns will give you guidance. And it doesn't mean that's all you do, but it should be a part of what you do every day. And you don't go out and do every single savvy. It's right, okay, I'm going to go online, liberty, freestyle, finesse. You don't do that. You might come out today and say, well, I don't have a lot of time, so I'm going to spend, I'm going to invest that time playing with my horse on the ground. And I'm going to go and do some online patterns. Or I might do some liberty. Other days you might do some online and freestyle. Other days you might go, well, today's going to be kind of freestyle and finesse. So you can start to just have this repertoire that you call from. And horses enjoy it because instead of going, oh no, we're just going to ride again, or oh no, we're just going to do this again, it's always interesting. It's like, oh, we might be playing on the ground today. Oh, we might be doing this. And before you know it, horses are looking over the rail going, can we play today? This is interesting. This is not something I'm just getting drilled at day in, day out. You've got 4 savvies in which to play. And the other thing is, in the beginning with levels 1 and 2, you're going to do more online and freestyle than anything else, because they're your foundations on the ground and riding for the more advanced pieces, which are liberty and finesse. So if you start with those, you'll then find by the time you've completed level 2 in those, and you've dabbled with a bit of level 2 stuff in the Liberty and Finesse. Then at levels 3 and 4, those things are going to come easy. This should never be difficult. It should never be traumatic for you and your horse. And if you follow the patterns the way that they're laid out, which ones to do first, you make little adjustments according to horseanality. Well, I might need to do more transitions early with this horseanality, or I might need to just do more laps with this horseanality. All those things are going to help you to think like a horseman. Think like Pat Parelli. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to understand what he does so naturally with horses that he's learned to do after many, many years of thinking and studying with great masters. And now he's passing this on to us so that we don't have to wait 30, 40 years to discover it. We can start right away, tomorrow, whether we've just got our horse or we're working at high levels with our horses. This is good for horses and for humans. Now, Pat Parelli has all this in his head. He can mentally gauge where a horse is at and then know where he's taking them and keep track of that. But not all of us are able to do that, especially when we're beginning and we're just taking this journey for the first time. It sometimes is important for us to keep track of that. And so on the charts that we've given you, it's a map of your progress. It helps you see what you've done and where you're going, and it keeps order in your mind. Because becoming a horseman is a discipline. You know, and even if you go, well, I don't want to be some great fancy horseman, it's not about that. You're in charge of a horse, and you need to know how to lead that horse and to take him step by step and develop that partnership. And so if you can start to become a little bit more disciplined about that, you can still have fun within it, but you need to know, when I go out, what is the next thing I'm going to do? What can my horse expect today? And what am I building on for tomorrow? The Parelli program is made up of a few things. It's skills, such as the 7 games in 4 savvies. It's patterns, and then it's never-ending self-improvement. So when you go, okay, never-ending self-improvement, what does that mean? It means that I'm going to start in the level 1, and I'm going to go to level 2, and then if I want to go ahead, I'm going to go to level 3, and then to level 4. So it's never-ending progression, just little increments every time you play with your horse. But sometimes you need support. You might have questions. Oh, wow, something happened today that I didn't expect, or I'm thinking more deeply about this subject and I need help on that, or I'm not quite sure how I would do this thing. Can I get a close-up or some help on that? That's why we have the Savvy Club, because this is how we give you never-ending support. Anytime that you need help, you need to see something, you need to hear from other people who are going through the same thing. The Savvy Club is a community that does that with expert leadership. You're going to hear from us. We answer your questions. There's already thousands of questions with answers and video clips now that you're going to be able to see. So you shouldn't spend one day being any more frustrated than you need to be. When you get frustrated, it's just a lack of knowledge, or it's just a lack of knowing that, hey, everything's okay. And that's what the Savvy Club is here to do for you. We're not just giving you this information saying, goodbye, good luck. It's like, we're here to help you in whatever ways you need.
If you ever really want to feel real horsepower, wait until you feel when you pick up the reins and it's like all the lights come on and the horse says, is it time to dance? And yet the lightness that is there, that's available, and all that power and all that weight transfers back and then you're part of it. You become, it's like, if you touch an electric fence and touch somebody else, you both get electrocuted. The power comes through both of you. This, to me, is one of the most addictive feelings in the world. You just cannot get enough of it. But remember, the Parelli program has got 4 savvies: online, liberty, freestyle, which builds to finesse.
Before you ever pick up the reins and try to ride close with your horse and have real precision and elegance and do anything that involves that kind of high level of maneuver, you need to have your act together. So what does having that act together mean? And I remember Pat saying, before you can refine anything, you need to have something you can refine. I'm like, what? I had no idea what I didn't have. I just thought, well, this can't be that hard. You just go into an arena and you pick up your reins and you try to do things at certain letters and, and just try and make it look good enough so that you can win in front of a judge. I had no idea about this formula that Pat would always talk about, which was rapport, respect, impulsion, flexion. And it's like this circle that the more flexion that you want, the more rapport you need, the more respect you need, the more impulsion you need. It's like you can't just go, well, I'm just going to work on the flexion, or I'm just going to work on impulsion and the go part. It's like you can't. It's all got to come together. And that's what the Four Savvies does. It brings everything together in a beautifully, perfectly balanced state. A lot of horses and riders get really out of balance because all they do is specialize in this one thing, and it becomes too much. It becomes kind of narrow focused, and horses have a lot of trouble with it. The attrition rate in performance horses is unbelievable, and they don't necessarily break down physically. They break down mentally, emotionally, because it's too much pressure and they don't understand what's going on. So the finesse patterns here will help your horse to understand what's going on. He'll start to go, oh, now I understand why we're doing this. Now I understand what we're doing next. And now I'm going to actually start giving you more because I get it. And I want to do something, better than what I've been doing. It's amazing how that can happen with horses. But you'll notice that a little bit like Liberty, finesse doesn't start until the higher levels. And that online and freestyle are the things that are going to give you a lot of the things that you need before you go to those more exacting and more advanced savvies.
So what I'd like you to do is to get the value of this and to get that feeling. If only you could feel what I feel when I pick those reins up and magic goes, oh, here it is, and it's so light but yet so powerful. I'd love to see you after this program. I'd love to see the look on your face when I know that you felt what I felt.